Hello, Steve. Hello, Jill.
Hello.
It's time to game classy.
You are quite good at turning me on.
Hello, 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 hello.
Hello.
Very good. You can hear me.
Yes, I can. I can hear your robo voice.
Robo voice, robo voice, ready to be a robot voice.
That's the only thing I absolutely hate about recording through Zoom. Well, aside from getting to see your lovely face on a bi-weekly basis, but the fact that I can't isolate your audio channel and fix you. Zoom is
Well,
like, you know
like
what?
all I can say is trying to fix men is a problem that a lot of people have. Hi-yo.
I guess. Hey everybody, welcome to Game Classy AM. Where we record at 8 a.m.
Yes, we are recording at 8 a.m. This is a thing. I mean, I'm fully awake. I've been awake for like 2 hours, so I'm good.
Well, I started a new job, so it's like I'm now kind of back to old sleepy schedules where it's like on my days off, I tend to sleep a little bit later than I used to.
Did you finally get that gigolo position you were vying for?
I'm just a gigolo.
Is that what you're?
Classic underrated David Lee Roth song, Just a Gigolo.
I'm not aware of that song, but I do know who David Lee Roth is, so I can imagine what it sounds like.
You know, David Lee Roth.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know that song, but I know David Lee Roth, so I feel that I have an advantage there, at least imagining the song.
I wouldn't, it's like when everyone was upset that one of the Van Halen brothers, I don't remember which one, died. I was like, well, as long as it's not Sammy, as long as it's not David Lee Roth, everyone be calm. David Lee Roth is still alive. We're all good here.
He's got to be the last one.
Was that Eddie Van Halen? I think died. He was the guitarist, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's such a great guitarist." I'm like, "Yeah, but he's not David Lee Roth."
I don't know. They did do Panama, I guess.
Panama.
Panama. One of the best bits in the entirety of Drew Carey, in my opinion, is it's in Drew Carey. It's the gimmick is Mimi figures out she actually owns half of Drew's house because she like buys some property, and then she figures out that she owns half of his house. So like half the land. So she's like, I'm gonna fucking break half your house. And he's like, no. He's like, I'm not leaving. And she's like, well, fuck you. And
it'd be great if she said that on the show.
Yeah, I mean it would be, but they don't talk like human beings in sitcoms.
No.
But so the gag was that she's trying to get him to leave of his own volition because she can't actually kick him out of his half of his property. So she sets up a giant spotlight and like huge speakers and just starts blasting Panama. And it just like and he like sits down in his chair. He's like, joke's on her. I like this song. And then it cuts. It just says like 36 hours later, and like he just looks like he's like completely like lost his fucking mind, and he's sitting on his recliner like in like the most berserk looking like manner ever, and like the lights are super hot because she's got the spotlights going on, and then the music stops, and he's like, huh? It stops, and then she goes, I just wanted to take a break to let you all know that we still have our nonstop marathon. And the next song coming up will be Panama. And following that song will be Panama by Van Halen. And then after that, we'll have Panama by Van Halen. And it just starts blasting Panama again. It was I enjoyed it. I liked it. So that's every time I hear that song, that's the only thing I think about. I just think of like an insanely like broken looking Drew Carey sitting on a recliner.
Yeah, I like the Drew Carey show. It was always really good, but it's not one of those ones that I ever want to revisit. Like I'll go back, maybe watch an old episode of Cheers or Frasier or something like that. But Drew Carey show, as good as it was, and it had some solid top writing, especially in like
it's funny.
Like the third, fourth season. But I just
it's good.
Yeah.
The one thing I do like about it is that I didn't find it Well, I mean, I say recently, but it was like 5 or 6 years ago that I rewatched it, and like it didn't have the like. I'm not gonna say it's timeless because it's not. That's definitely not right.
Yeah.
But it didn't have a lot of the foibles that I notice a lot of sitcoms fall into, where like the situation is like so time specific. It's like, for example, like Costanza trying to use the fucking payphone.
Oh,
that
yeah.
that bit's hilarious. That's a very funny episode, and like that whole sequence is really good. But that's so out of touch with like the way like the world works now. Like I don't know.
Seinfeld's really bad for that. Like there's a good third of Seinfeld plots that could have been solved with the cell phone.
Right. And so like I don't know if because I think a lot of humor, and this is why I think a lot of there's like a weird spread of humor across like cultures, why like sometimes like a Russian comedy might not be funny to an American speaker or vice versa. And I mean there's obviously some fucking cross pollination. Like Shrek is funny no matter what language you speak because it's Shrek.
Well, ogres are like onions. There's lots of layers.
So one of the things is like I think like you need to have a little bit, or not need, but one of the things that makes things funnier is when you have a little bit of personal experience relating to the situation. So like I have in my real life, I have had that situation where someone was just blabbing on the fucking payphone that I needed to desperately use to get someone to come pick me up. So like I've had that experience. So that situation where Costanza's trying to use the payphone and the lady's just like talking about her day, like that's extra funny to me because I'm just like, hey, that's basically happened to me. So I think if you've never been anywhere close to that experience, you could like observe it and be like, oh, that's, I understand what's occurring. That's kind of funny. I think there's like a level of difference there.
Congratulations, Steve. You've just discovered why comedy works. It's called relatability.
And no, I'm saying it's not necessary.
It's why modern comedians are often not funny to people of our age, because newer comedians are experiencing things that we don't experience because we're old and we don't matter anymore.
Our
parents don't care about certain things like we find funny.
I've never found stand-up comedians very funny, except for Jim Gaffigan, and mostly it's because of his silly voice.
I see. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's all about relatability. Congratulate. But talking about music torture, if you ever want something funny, and this goes to our listeners as well, if you ever want to have a good laugh, just go to any gaming forum and ask, hey, what type of music do you like to listen to when you play/paint? And you will get the worst music suggestions of all time. And if you're like, I like this music, guess what? You have a terrible taste in music.
My you want to know my answer to that? Synthwave.
Yeah. Synthwave. That's a new one.
Ooh, synthwave. I said synth, but now I want to think of now I want to pioneer the genre of synthwave.
That's what I'm kind of like. Well, yeah, synthwave, but yeah.
Well, see, there might be some confusion though, because there is a subgenre of synthwave relating to The Simpsons.
Oh, yes, there is a Simpsons wave.
Yeah, they don't call it simp wave.
They call it like Millhouse wave, right?
It's something weird. It's like lo-fi beats with like some synth stuff that goes over like very melancholy scenes of The Simpsons.
It's all very terrible.
The music's okay, but I mean it's just lo-fi beats. Like I don't know. I listen to a lot of background music that is like intentionally like supposed to just kind of fade into the background. So that's I don't know how people can listen to music that's like actual music.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying, Steve. It's like, yeah, most people like people like when they say like what music they play games to or listen to when they paint, it's all awful, terrible music that only nerds listen to. And I'm not talking like music nerds. I'm talking like real nerds.
Yeah, that's just strange to me. Like I don't know, because I mean I do listen to some bands and I listen to some fucking nerdy as fuck shit bands like with like they sing about wizards and stuff. But like I don't know how anyone could like do that while also doing another act. Like for example, like Visigoth, totally cheesy metal. They have a song called fucking Dungeon Master, and it's literally them talking about a fucking dungeon master, like as in like a Dungeons and Dragons dungeon master. So like it's very funny. It's not like a comedy band, but like that's kind of how they like, you know, they're like he's the dungeon master, dun, 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 dun. And it's like, you know, it's very cheesy butt rock. I think that's funny. I like that song, but I could never like listen to that like while doing a thing, especially if I was like doing a game, because like I'd get distracted. If I'm putting music on, I want BGM. Like that's what I want. I instrumental, no lyrics. So either like, I mean, if I wanted to, you know, if I was studying like lo-fi beats or something like that is fine because it's very non-intrusive. Or like, you know, if I mean, shit, if I was doing RPGs, you can always just fucking do Skyrim. Fucking put on the Skyrim soundtrack.
All right, so I wanted to talk about the big news for today, and I feel I will apologize to our listeners because I did not write down any notes about this, but I kind of feel like I probably should have, because it's fairly complicated into what's going on. Oh, also, by the way, I recently discovered that, remember the old Citadel green flock that's like that little
the sawdust. Yeah. Oh, it was cork. I thought it was sawdust.
I think it was cork.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
So,
but I did find out that there's a company called Javis or Javis, that I think is the original producer of it. That's like the common consensus. So if you look up, was it Javis Fine Light Green Turf?
That's the old GW flock.
That's the old GW flock if you want to use that.
Hey, and you can grab your coat to arms paint and get going.
Oh yeah, just gunk it on that thick ass army painter paint.
No. Are you army painter paint is thin compared to coat to arms, sir.
I meant to say coat to arms.
Yeah, let's say army painter paint is thin compared to coat to arms.
So chunky.
Although a lot of people really do like coat to arms, and I always call people's bluff because like, I used to really like the old GW paints. I'm like, yeah, the company still exists. Here, you can buy it direct from them, and they never did.
But I think I really do think, and it's something that we were talking about before. It's that internet like positive approval loop that people go through, that feedback loop of, it's like if you follow like the Old Hammer forums and you're an active participant on there, like they will actively look down their nose at you if you don't use Code to Arms paint. So what you do is you buy Code to Arms paint just so you could post a picture of your Code to Arms paint and say, look at how cool I am, I'm using this Code to Arms paint.
Post your picture of your Code to Arms paint while you're wearing your latex gloves.
Yeah, while you're wearing your latex gloves, so you could have like, you can get those four updates, so that you know you can have that positive feedback loop, and your brain can release the good chemical.
I see.
So if you want good chemical, you do what they want, and then but there are that subsection of the group on Old Hammer who will be very upset with you for using that and not using your authentic GW paints that you have saved for the last 40 years.
Oh, or that you hunted down on eBay.
Yes, and paid outrageous amounts of money for terrible paint, because it is pretty terrible paint.
I mean, I would be so bold as to say it's not terrible. Like, it's fine. Like, it works. It's not. It's out. I would say it's outdated more than it's terrible, because you can make a fucking awesome looking model using nothing but coat to arms paint. Like,
I guess it's just
old. It's just an outdated paint style. Like,
is it worth the effort though to
it's very low
coat to arms paint?
It's very low effort to use the coat to arms paint, like the new ones, because the newer paints are, you know, they're in those nice bottles. They're in the ones that the PIP ones used to or still come in.
Which I don't like those either, by the way.
I mean, the only bottles that are going to drop bottles. I mean, everyone knows this. Dropper bottles are the best. Like that's. I don't
have
think
their own issue, and we're about, I believe, 5 years away from coming up with a perfect solution to dropper bottles.
Yeah, I don't think there's a, like, current as it stands. I don't believe there is a debate to be had. Dropper bottles are the current best thing you can use.
Yes, they are. But I'm saying they have their own problems though. Like they constantly clog, constantly.
You got to use those little fucking like bead things or whatever the hell they are.
No, well, it's not the bead things. It's just the tip, and they just clog. It's like a, it's like you just need to have, and you could unclog it really easily with a paper clip or a pin. But it's like, if they just created a tip or a cap that had like a little tiny like pin top in it that you could, when you closed it, it just automatically inserted there to prevent the tip from clogging. I think.
Oh yeah, like on like they have on like some body creams have that.
Body cream.
Yeah.
But speaking of old models, I know we're not getting to what we need to talk about, but I just bought a Arbol the Undefeated. It's an old 4th edition GW model.
Nice.
Maybe early 5th, but he was listed in the Champions of Chaos book from 5th edition when they released, like, I think it was like 6 or 7 character models for Chaos. Great fucking book if you ever want to track it down. It's really fun read. But there's like listed in there like, I don't know, 7 or 8 different characters for Chaos, and I realized at one point when I was going through it earlier last week that I only was missing 2 of the characters from that set. So I kind of wanted to pick them up to finish it off the set.
Yes.
It was Arbol the Undefeated was one. And the other one was Ingram Van Horstman, the double-headed dragon guy.
Oh, fuck. I love that name. He's the one that he's the dude who's on the original Chaos Dragon, right?
Yeah.
The metal one.
Yeah, the 2-headed one. So I'm trying to track down a good version of that.
That model's a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's, you know what though? Still better than Galrock. I hate that model.
Yeah, Galrock is awful. Galrock is terrible for like Galrock is not actually that bad. Like, as someone who's assembled multiple fucking Galrocks, it's the basic like core assembly of that model is really not that bad. Like, they did a decent job of like where the joins are. Yeah. The problem with Galrock, and anyone who's ever fucking touched that model will probably know immediately where I'm about to go, is it's a fucking cactus. It is. It's a fucking cactus. You have to glue together all these pieces, and every piece you're touching on every angle, there's goddamn spikes. Like,
and it's also like it doesn't make any sense when you look at it. Well, it's not supposed to. It's a Zinch model.
Yeah.
It's still a bitch to paint.
I actually by the time I was assembling my 3rd Galrock, I was wearing mittens.
Mittens.
I actually wore mittens. Mittens. Well, what I would do is I had them to the side. I would do the pins because I could hold it without stabbing my fucking fingers, and do the pins, and then I would set the pieces down very carefully so that like it would be a very quick grab. I'd put the mittens on, put the super glue on, and then stick together with the mittens so my goddamn hands wouldn't bleed, because the second Galrock actually cut me like pretty bad. I was like, oh my god, I'm fucking, because I didn't realize what was happening, because like I'm maneuvering the metal, and like suddenly I started to see red, and like, what the fuck is happening? I was like, oh shit. There's a big gash in my hand from this fucking model.
But the Arbol that I got, I was like, I looked at the pictures of Arbol the Undefeated, and I'm like, this model can't be as bad looking as it looks in the pictures. And then I got
Is it worse?
Like, oh my god, this model is hilariously bad.
Awesome.
So if you look it up,
the old terrible models.
He's a corn champion riding a Fleshhound. Fleshhound, thank you. He's riding a giant Fleshhound, and the giant Fleshhound is probably one of the worst sculpts I've ever seen. And Arbol himself is not a great sculpt, but I'm like, oh, this is hilariously bad. And so I got the model in. I paid $30 for it, which is fairly cheap, but it is covered.
That's actually really cheap for
a
classic mini.
Yeah, well, I mean, a big classic mini too, but that's why I picked it up for 30. But it's covered in that yellow glue.
Oh, the dried out super ancient super glue.
Yeah, it's covered in that. So I have him soaking in a nail polish remover right now.
That's terrific.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I mean, and it's like, I'm gonna put a lot of effort into this model, which is a pretty bad model to begin with, but I can't wait to paint him because he's so bad.
Yeah, I like the old shitty models. That's the one thing that Old Hammer has, right? Like the clout and all that stuff. I think is dumb, but the appreciation for like the old models, like the picture of the fucking vampire who's like, or that classic, what is it, the Jess Goodwin pose?
Oh yeah.
Like
Like
that
what I
pose.
sent you, the Vlad versus the new vampire.
The 6 foot versus 5'11" meme.
Isn't it ridiculous? Like I'm sitting there painting these models, and I'm like,
I actually
Christ.
I actually don't think it's that bad. I think it's crazy by comparison, but I was looking like, I don't think that vampire is actually that big. He's like in a weird pose, his like leg is up. He's also a blood dragon, so he's gonna be a bit bigger. He's in the full plate, but his proportions make more sense.
Well, there's no such thing as blood dragons anymore. They're just vampires in AOS.
Right, but it looks like they've kind of like they made the Strigoi into the flesh eater courts, and then.
Well, they kind of did that, but it's the standard vampires now they're all based off the von Karsteins from the 8th edition book. So if you looked at all the von Karsteins, they all had that style of armor.
Oh, did they? They smushed the von Karsteins and the blood dragons into each other.
Yeah, they kind of did that.
Because the von Karsteins were always like bleh, like they were the Bela Lugosi vampires.
Yeah,
or the Count Strahd. The blood dragons were the ones that were the Bram Stoker Dracula movie vampires with the big blood armor.
They kind of mushed them together. The 8th edition vampires that they released, because they did Manfred, which was a terrible model. The Vlad, which is also a terrible 8th edition model. The Isabella was gorgeous. That model still holds up as one of the better GW models ever produced. And she's kind of the prototype for how I think that they're doing with a lot of the newer vampire sculpts. And then they did the one with, I think it was Conrad, and then they did the one with the Batwing. Remember him?
Yes. Oh, I could never forget the Batwing when I painted so fucking many of them all.
So so what they did was they kind of took all those terrible ones and they're like, okay, what if we took all of these bad GW vampire count models and made them good?
Let's take the parts that are good and just do that.
So and that's, some of what I really enjoy about like this new vampire count release that they're doing. They definitely have like a female vampire who has the Bram Stoker Dracula hair, the like the big butt hair.
Yes, the butt hair, the ass hair.
Which I absolutely adore. And even these newer ones, because I've been painting the Crimson Court for Underworlds, they do look like they're a little more feral, like a little bit more like a mixture of the Necrarchs. Like if they added the blood dragons, the von Karsteins, and the Necrarchs and kind of mushed them together. I really am enjoying the look of it because they got these like really funky looking fangs, which could look terrible. However, with a mediocre paint job, they still look really kind of cool.
That's funny.
Yeah, I do appreciate it. But speaking of that release, let's get into the horrendous difficulty that Games Workshop has got themselves into. Or I should say,
yes, your big news.
The British populace has got them into. So last cast, we talked about how Curse City was not a limited release, and everyone was freaking out about it, right?
Yes. Well, also, Curse City apparently is packed like garbage, and like everyone is pulling out broken sprues.
Yeah, well, mine came out fine.
Yeah. You are an outlier, sir. I was talking to Angel about that, and like the amount of people just going like, this is broken, like for like just pictures of their boxes open with like all the shit broken. I was like, all right then.
Or what that could be is it could also be feedback loop of people posting stuff on Facebook, purposely breaking their shit just so they can get likes.
I mean, that would maybe. I mean, I'm not surprised by anything anymore, but sure.
Because as I say, the only thing that I ever want posted in workshop groups is I want to see a fully painted mini. Or it's okay if you ask like a question about the rules. I'm okay with that too. But people who post pictures of stuff that's not a fully painted mini, fuck you. I don't want to see your unopened box saying, hey, look what was just delivered. Fuck you. But
well, I would say like my reply to that is your fault for being in those groups.
That's true. You are absolutely 100% right. But so I was not wrong in that Curse City is not a limited release. However, when we dug deeper into it, the internet kind of dug deeper into it. It turns out that the British populace fucked its own top performing company. So with Brexit happening, it was like the perfect storm of shit that happened to Games Workshop. So first off, Brexit meant they had to renegotiate a ton of contracts, and the top cardboard producer inside of the UK that Games Workshop was using shut down. So they had to source all of their cards and everything else to someone else.
All right, great.
Okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing, all of the supply lines got fucked. And we talked about that before with that evergreen in the Suez Canal.
Right. And that just being one of the many things that are occurring. There's like so many factors and so many areas where shit's fucked.
Yeah, with the supply lines, because Games Workshop also had to deal with COVID outbreaks inside of their warehouses and everything else. That just
and then even if your warehouse is fine, when you ship it out, your logistics company had an outbreak in their warehouse, so now your shit's sitting in a fucking pallet somewhere.
Exactly. It's like all of this going on all over the place. And then thirdly, and I just found out about this, and I sent it to you, about their inventory system got fucked.
This one's the most devastating, I think.
Well, I'm not 100% sure on this. Okay, so
it's unconfirmed.
This is unconfirmed. But I'm just gonna I'll do my best to somewhat read it. They were migrating their ERP, which I don't know what that means, but I believe it's some sort of like inventory software to Microsoft Dynamics, and apparently they lost all their records of inventory and production cycles, as well as essentially anything involved in production, which is why they're causing that pause for everything in May. So May, not a single thing is going to get released.
Yeah, basically, this rumor is that they essentially blanked all of their data. So everything they had like in planning, everything they had ready to planning to ship, create, so on and so forth, all of their information is just blanked.
Yeah. So like we would blame that on Cletus here in the United States and he'd be like, "Hey Steve, I accidentally hit the delete button and everything's gone." And I don't know what the equivalent.
And I would go, look, first of all, that is delete. Second of all, get the hell out of my office.
But I don't know if there's like an equivalent in the UK, like if it's what's a good like UK like a chav name, something like that.
I couldn't even begin to guess. I have no idea. Like I know the only names I know are from fucking Guy Ritchie movies.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say it's Mickey. Mickey comes in and he's all like, "Oh, right, I don't hit your button on his computer and everything went black." And and then you can see the Games Workshop guy getting really, really upset and starting to fume, and he goes, "All right then," and that's then so then they have to reintegrate everything and figure it all out again. So. So
well,
like
it looks like this is a dilly of a pickle, ain't it?
In it. Exactly. So
he's just like super calm. Yes, I think it's about right.
So from what I can tell, it's anything with Games Workshop is currently producing that has cardboard in it is kind of fucked right now. So that's why Curse City was so fucked, because there was a heavy amount of cardboard in there. So you can't really. So they had to resource literally everything in that box except the minis and the rule books, which is the reason why it was so underproduced currently. Not to mention the fact that it was a bigger surprise hit, I think, than it was intended to be. And online, with there being that short pack, now everybody's got FOMO. Yes, like you'd like to say. So the prices have gone up dramatically.
Yeah, the FOMO is absolutely real. Like people just are just like, I can't explain the level of FOMO that's going on right now. Like it is actually kind of like it's always been there. Like that's definitely a thing, especially with nerds. Like the nerd level of FOMO is gigantic. Look at Kickstarter. Like Kickstarter's existence is basically based on FOMO.
Yeah, well, I mean it's also but I think I was thinking about this in that I think that there is a level that the quarantine has played into this, in that people who've had a job throughout all of quarantine have been getting a lot of money, essentially either through their job or through stimulus checks or whatever else have you, and they can't do anything that they would normally do with that money, i.e. go out to restaurants, go to movies, go travel. So what do they have to do with that money is buy shit online, because that's what you do in a capitalist society. You have to buy shit in order to get the good chemicals in your brain to be released.
Yes.
So what they do is they are putting all of that into essential shit like Games Workshop products, like
Yes.
As much as I love them and you love, minis in general and gaming and stuff like that, like we don't get those good chemicals anymore when we buy things. We just do it out of habit.
No, at this point, it's just like, nah, I'm good, man.
Well, exactly. Yeah. It's like, you don't have to buy, like, I don't get that good chemical when I buy something new. Sometimes I get it when I'm getting something that I've been looking for a long time. A grail, if you will. I don't like to call them grails, but
a grail.
Yeah. But something, something like that. But I think
now I just imagine you finding that fucking chaos dragon and just grabbing it and then being like and then aging like 1,000 years in like 3 seconds, and some dude just comes out, he's all like shriveled up and he's got his fucking green Games Workshop shirt on from the early 90s and he's like, he chose poorly.
Yeah, trust me, if you look at my collection you can honestly say he chose poorly. But yeah, that's and I think a lot of people are doing that because that's what they're spending their money on. Like, I'm trying to save my money, and I did a very good job actually over quarantine of saving money, but still, it's like
I think you have, obviously I think that's where the extra like drive is. Like, or the extra like money is coming from. That makes sense because people are spending their money differently, so people want more. People are spending on different stuff. I get that, but the actual I'm talking like the actual people frothing that they can't have the thing is way out of pocket right now, because that's what I'm seeing in like the collectibles, like every industry right now. It's just like, that's the part that's crazy. Not that there's way more stuff being sold, that part totally makes sense. The actual people losing their fucking minds that their shit isn't there a day early instead of on release day. That's what I'm talking about.
I totally get that. And so right now Crimson and Curse City, the prices have kind of leveled out for it, because I think that there's I want to say people are enjoying the complaining about it more than the actually having it or getting it.
I think that that's a lot of tabletop gaming, is you enjoy the complaining about tabletop gaming more than anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, our podcast exists based on that premise.
But the what was I going to say? Sorry, Pat B just texted me something, and so I've now gotten off track.
You're in Pat B mode.
I'm in Pat B mode, but yeah, the complaining about it, so the prices have leveled off. It's usually about let's see, on eBay last time I looked, it was about $3 to $3.50 for the game. But the shipping is incredible, and so is the taxes on eBay, by the way. How does eBay get away with charging taxes on a product that's already been bought and taxed?
Because that's how they have to do it.
I know, but I mean, you can't tax something twice.
Welcome to how many times your dollar is taxed in fucking America, bro.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Your dollar is your dollar. You can't see here. We'll give you the quick rundown, and because I actually have to deal with tax shit all the time. The long and short is your dollar gets taxed a fuck ton more than one time. The difference is what you can't tax more than once is the same tax. So there's a bunch of fucking semantics and legal bullshit where basically they're fleecing you for a shit ton of more money than they should.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's basically that's the long and short. So eBay is not a because to make it really short and simple to not get into the complexities, eBay is not the company selling the product, so they do not have a tax exempt license. So because they're facilitating the transaction, the government's like, hey bitch, give us our fucking cut. And eBay's like, all right, yeah, I mean, we have to, because otherwise the government will fucking, put bags over our heads and throw us into Colombia. And So what they do is they have to charge the taxes between the private parties because you're using the
finger thing means
service.
the taxes.
Yes.
Yeah, right now online you could use it looks like it's about 300, which is kind of what I was saying. There's a couple, yeah. So yeah, the markup is crazy.
That's a fucking pretty crazy markup.
And let me tell you, well, I mean, kind of, but let me tell you this.
That's a 50% markup on MSRP. That's a fucking high ass markup.
And it's not worth $300. Let me tell you guys that right off the bat. It is definitely not worth 300. There's one guy selling it for 400. The guy can go fuck himself.
From what I saw, I didn't really think it was worth $200, but like you're pushing it. You're pushing it at 200.
It's the 200 is I think it's worth 200. I mean, I wouldn't, like 5 or 6 years ago I probably would say it's not worth $200, but with the way that prices are inflating because of capitalism being awful,
more like capitalism.
More like capitalism.
I'm going to go to the one place completely untouched by capitalism. Space. That fucking line is so good. The best thing about that clip is like fucking Tim Curry is like he's barely containing himself from just like exploding into laughter at any fucking second, and you know that has to be the best take. So I really want to see the takes that were not good.
So the right now the Crimson Court for Warhammer Underworlds, the vampires that I was talking about earlier, they are actually getting some pretty serious markup too, because though they weren't as undershipped as Cursed City and they're a little easier to find, they are still a lower production rate than the rest of the Dire Chasm warbands. So they are actually creeping up there. You can actually you can't buy them for MSRP anywhere online. They've been bumped up.
That's so odd.
But you got to remember that the Crimson Court, all of the cards are that cardboard too. So if they can't get those cards, then it's going to be, they can't ship them out. Like the minis, they probably have tons of them. Like if you just wanted the minis, that's probably not a big issue. It's the cards that are the thing that
it's
underpacked.
It's Shadespire, so I'm sure the cards are more in demand than the minis.
I don't know. Those minis are fucking great.
Well, I meant for if you're playing Shadespire.
Plus, they're like the newest vampires that have been released in like what, since 10 years at this point.
It's been a while for sure.
Yeah, I mean they're the best vampires that Games Workshop has ever produced. I think the only vampire that was produced earlier were the ones from Cursed City, and that only beat them by like a week and a half. So
yeah, I guess there's technically the Flesh Eater Courts guys, but I think that's kind of cheating because
that's cheating.
They're not like, yes, they're vampires, but it's kind of like, yeah,
they're like vampire adjacent.
Yeah, they're Nosferatus.
They're Nosferatus.
That's right.
Oh, they got those vampires made up like elves, gremlins, or Eskimos.
They got those buck teeth, and they got the silent film thing going.
Blah!
Blah! Their shadow attacks.
Shadow attacks. Yeah. So they. If the Crimson Court, if it's been underpacked, so I was like, when I picked it up, I was like, okay, not a big deal. I went day of, picked it up, no problem. The stores had a couple of them. And but then I started hearing like, people were having difficulty finding them who didn't pre-order, which was not the issue out here. And so I was
issues are always like weirdly regionalized too, because there's always like this entire state didn't get anything.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one thing that I will I will say that it's very odd that what's going on currently. It's something that's very, very unusual, and hopefully Games Workshop will get their shit together so that they will be able to get back on a normal production schedule.
Yes.
I find it so weird. Like, it's like on one hand, I'm mad because I'm like, oh man, I want my new releases. And on the other hand, I'm kind of just like, eh. I know you don't care. You're not buying anything new, but I mean,
no, I haven't. I actually don't own a single miniature now. I don't have a single one. They're all gone.
They're all gone. Yeah, but I mean, the gaming stores starting to open up again. You know, COVID's starting to creep back up again. So we're going to play this game. I think we are currently at the part of the COVID epidemic where just people don't care anymore. I know we reached that a while ago in the United States, but
by immediately, do you mean reached?
but I think now it's starting to affect a lot of the libtards who are holding out. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying some of them who are just like, you know what, we're done.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah,
we have fun here.
Yeah, we have fun. And there are a lot of the there are now a lot of the people. It's really weird for me because I'm so like I'm literally George Costanza in a lot of these where it's just like I give up. Like I'm done. I can't handle this anymore. Like, seeing the people who are very much like, well, what about this and what about that? I'm like, yeah, those are all really good reasons. It's just that you're going up against people who just are done. They don't care anymore. Yeah. Like I'm sorry, but they don't care. You're not going to be able to convince them in any way, shape, or form. And you can't beat someone who doesn't give a fuck. Exactly. That's why I always tell people that's one of the things about like games too. Like when you're playing a competitive game, the most dangerous opponent, in my opinion, is not the guy who's extremely skilled and knows the right moves. It's the guy who knows how to play. So like he does not have, he's not lost, but he doesn't fucking care. That is the most dangerous player to play against, because like they'll do shit like to use Magic as an example. They'll keep a hand that's like, if my next 2 draws are 2 lands in a row, this hand is fucking busted as shit. That's a terrible idea because like math says that your next 2 cards will very, very unlikely be lands, like just in general. But that dude's just like, I don't fucking care. Like this is gonna be awesome. Like that is, and like it's like, oh shit, this dude kept a hand this dude kept a hand that any skilled player would have just gotten rid of immediately. They would have been like, this hand's not keepable. This is mulligan. But like, this dude's just like, fuck, man, this will be dope. and then you lose to that guy because he kept a hand that was like sketch as fuck. So like, that's the most dangerous opponent, I think, is the guy who just doesn't fucking care. And you're just like, fuck. It's like with older Warhammer 2, the guy who just like he would just like declare a charge that was like super sus, and it's just like, oh, he was actually just barely in range, and you're like, fuck. I am that guy. I'm totally that guy. Yeah, that guy's the worst because it's like you can't outplay it because they're just like, basically, I guess I'd say they're the gambler, but they're the gambler who doesn't care about the odds. Someone's evening on a train bound to Georgia. Yes. Up with the gambler. Yeah. They're the gambler who hits on a 20 because they're like, top card could be an ace. You gotta know when to hold them. Know when to fold them. Know when to walk away. Know when to run. You better count your money. At the table, there'll be time enough counting when the dealing's done. I'll put that in fucking Red Dead Redemption 2. Did they put that in there? No, it would have been awesome though. No, Red Dead Redemption 2 had all original tracks. I've always had a love for 70s country, like that, like outlaw country style music. However, there is a small growing part of me that really enjoys the kind of like poppy country of the early 80s. Like that Kenny Rogers and like Dolly Parton from the when they started getting a lot more mainstream, right? There was like a lot more of their outfits had rhinestones on it, like a rhinestone cowboy. Exactly, like that style. And so it's like that part of me is growing, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't like that. That sounds awful. That sounds awful. Yeah, for me, like I'm not a huge country music fan, minus like the 60s and earlier. I like that stuff. Yeah.
And I will fully admit it's literally. I don't know if it's because of Fallout New Vegas, but I was certainly exposed to it because of Fallout New Vegas. Like fucking the song Big Iron. Big Iron is one of the fucking like Big Iron is a fucking banger. Like that song is great. Like this is a really good song.
Why do I not know this? Well, I probably know it.
To the town of Agua rode a stranger one fine day. Didn't say anything. Look at folks around him. Didn't have too much to say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a late 50s, early 60s one. That's a Marty Robbins. I don't know if you listen to Marty. It's been covered a lot.
It has been. Johnny Cash is a really good cover of as well. But that whole album is really good. That Marty Robbins album, that's really good.
I'm assuming that you were talking about the Marty Robbins.
Yes,
version,
the Marty Robbins version,
which I actually have. I have the Gunfighter Ballads and Trail Songs by Marty Robbins.
Yes, that is a really good album. Like most of the songs on there are also super good. In addition to Big Iron, but like that song's a fucking banger. That's kind of the country music level that I would care to listen to, because like that's like actual like. I think the distinction of country music that I like or don't like is probably pretty fine. It's country music that sings about being a cowboy and the Wild West. That's cool. Country music that sings about jeans and my pickup truck. Every one of them should die.
Well, yeah, that's just that's a modern phenomenon based on algorithms of what's popular. That's my stance. Like that it doesn't make it like why would you do that to a really cool genre? Because that's where the money is, man. I mean, there are plenty of great country music stars right now who do make music that are about cowboys in the Old West and gunfights and like, having your wife cheat on you, so you go out and you shoot a can, but you accidentally shoot the sheriff, and so now you're being hanged.
You didn't shoot the deputy.
Yes, there are lots of songs like that. Which over wall. I'm not going to go into it. I think we've covered.
I guess I don't know what subgenre of country that would be then. Like west, like country western. Like
country western, bluegrass. But I mean like
what would you? I don't know what you would specifically like add to like be like I like country, but only this distinct version of country. Because I mean, there's newer songs like that I definitely heard that are not as old as the 60s. It's just like every song from the 60s is like, like he had a big gun and there was a fucking criminal and he's got a rope.
Actually, all of the ones from the 70s are about I did a fuck ton of cocaine and now I'm out dancing all night and my wife cheated at me.
All right, dope.
Yeah. And but it just goes for anything. I just like singing. I like country. I don't think there's a single genre of music that I don't like, with the exception of that one band who does the songs that are historical events, Sabaton.
Sabaton? Oh man, dude, Sabaton's dope.
If I had to pick one genre that I don't like, I would just say I don't like Sabaton.
That's not even a genre.
It doesn't matter. I don't like Sabaton. I think Sabaton is I love Sabaton. Their music is very good. Like I do enjoy their crazy metal songs. I think the lyrics are fascist bullshit. Even though they talk about like fighting fascism, they still romanticize fascism quite a bit in those songs.
I don't know. One of their lyrics is like screaming out Nazis burn in hell. So I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can agree with where you're going with this.
They glorify nationalism just a little too much for my own taste.
I don't know about that. I can't agree on that one. I can say that because it is songs about historical stuff, the intent doesn't matter. Like that I will agree with that. I will say that like anyone who's into historical things can, it's just like whenever you're talking to the guy and just like you're talking to him, and you're like, yeah, this guy's kind of like maybe in his 50s or 60s, and you're talking to him, and he starts talking about how much he likes World War II, and I'm like, fuck, like that guy. Sure, I'll say that he'll take whatever, because that's the thing. People will take whatever they want from whatever they listen to. They don't care about like what the artist I was talking about this a while ago, but like artist intent doesn't matter. I don't think artist intent has ever mattered. But but like it really doesn't matter now. So
No.
like that, I think that they're because I mean I've listened to a lot of fucking Sabaton songs, and like I don't think their songs particularly have any sort of message, endorsement, or anything along those lines, except for like literally like songifying a historical thing. So like when they sing about like the Somme, like the Battle of the Somme, like that song is like, that's a dope song, but it's there's no like narrative. It's just like singing about the Battle of the Somme. So like how fucking horrible it was, and there was like a lot of people who died, so on and so forth. It's like it's a metal version of a Wikipedia article. So that's I don't think that there's a big thing there. But anyone who wants to like take that as like, yeah, these guys support insert whatever you want, like you can't stop that, because that's just how people are, and everyone will project their personal, like if they like something, until they are met with overwhelming evidence that the person who creates the thing they like is not someone who they agree with, like they don't care, because it's like fucking what's his name, the Minecraft douche. Like people didn't know he was a douche, they liked Minecraft and like, oh yeah, that guy's cool, and then he started going off on Twitter where he's like basically I'm like a mega fascist, and people were just like, oh no.
Well, that's but I do think it's like, it's one of those things where it's, I'm just gonna, is it Nazi? Where there's a discussion about whether or not it is Nazi, I'm just going to stay away from it, just because it's, I might as well, like, it's like 40K. Like,
yeah. For me, they actually, like, the vast majority of their songs actually aren't about World War II. Like, yeah. which I would like, the vast majority of their songs
white supremacy, yeah.
Oh, you. Yeah, no, I can't agree with your reasoning here. Minus the, like, I'm sure there are absolutely plenty of shitbags who listen to them because they cover historical content. Yes, yeah. Sure. Yeah. I already smell the guy in the suspenders with his really short hat, like ready to like be like, well, actually, if you listen, and if you really take apart Mein Kampf, you can understand. Like, yeah, I already smell that guy. So yeah, I got it.
It's really funny too, because I fully support like if a band comes out and says like, yeah, we worship Satan, I'm like, cool, I'm gonna listen to this. But it's like, we're gonna sing about historical events, I'm gonna be like, here's really into colonialism and white supremacy.
Although they do have one song which one of my favorite songs of theirs, has nothing to do with anything. It's literally a song about metal, and they basically took a bunch of other bands, like classic metal bands, like song titles and lyrics, and like roped them together into one big song, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. Well, so like
Masters, I think it's called Masters of Metal or Monsters of Metal.
Oh yeah. So I've been reading just a ton. I've been going back and reading the classics, right? So I went back and I'm reading Plato's Symposium right now. I was reading just some old Latin, not Latin, but I was reading some books on Roman history and things like that, and I was laughing because I was reading about Cato the Elder. He was just Cato the Censor, I think that's what it's called now. But he was just this old Roman guy, but he ended every speech with, oh yeah, and Carthage must be destroyed. Like he would talk about anything, like he'd be talking about like public plumbing, and at the end of every speech he'd say, furthermore, I consider that Carthage must be destroyed. Hysterical. So
would you say that he might be the first memer?
He could be, like, that was like his way of saying
or at least the first like popular memer, a memester.
So I thought it'd be funny to put in like my email, like, end line, where, just says, Joe, blah, 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 blah. Where
Carthage must be destroyed.
Yeah, I just wanted to put on there Carthago delenda S at the end of it. But then I thought to myself, I go, you know what? Carthage is in Africa, and I think that someone might read that wrong. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, you know what? I'm going to hold this because anything that's slightly like that, I might just ignore that for the joke, So
you might realize that you've signed on for something you didn't sign on for.
Exactly. Like, you never know. So it's like when someone says like, oh, I really love Sabaton, you just got to kind of be like,
I mean, all I'll say is that I honestly appreciate people who are just 100%. Like I appreciate, as the internet says, I appreciate people who keep it 100. So like, I have much more respect for a dude who's walking around with fucking like white power tattoos and like who just looks like a massive monstrous piece of shit than someone who's, you know, in nice clothes who's just as racist as the other guy.
Yeah, well, that is true too.
That's my stance. I like people who are upfront about how they are, because it's just like, I can just completely avoid that person. If I was younger, it'd be like, hey, that's the guy me and my friends are gonna go beat the shit out of.
So there you go, Steve. You can end all of your emails with furthermore, Carthage must be destroyed.
I'll convert it to English though. I'll literally just be like, furthermore, Carthage must be destroyed.
I just love the idea that this guy would just be talking about anything, and then at the end he'd just be like, you know what, and Carthage must be destroyed. And you know what, he was right.
Did someone maybe someone from Carthage fucked his wife? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's a whole reason. I mean, Carthage was kind of the, just from my historical reading and my bullshit, you know, my hot take on something that happened, you know, 5,000 years ago, or however many 3,000 years ago. Carthage was kind of like, okay, no wait. So Rome was like America, right? Like a standard America in the 1960s, very, very kind of like proto-fascist, where it was like everything that wasn't America was wrong.
Right. Yeah. We figured it out. Everyone else is an idiot, not us.
Yes, exactly. Good. So like, you think that political, they are very authoritarian right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And then the Carthage is kind of libertarian right. Okay. So because they were all about like, we're just going to spend money. If we just throw money at it, it'll solve itself. It doesn't matter.
Right. They're anti-authoritarian, which I've always told people that like the people think the left and the right is the crux of the political arguments, but it's actually the up and the down.
Yeah, that's me right there. You know, but I'm just trying to explain, since something that people might, you know, if they have any, I'm sure most people listening to this podcast are like, I understand what Carthage is. But yeah, they were kind of that libertarian right. And so it's like you have the libertarian right versus the authoritarian right. And you know what? They both deserve to be blown up, because you know who had it right? The Celts. You know why the Celts had it right? The Celts were the libertarian left because they didn't wear any clothes.
Hell yeah.
They just ran around eating each other because that's what they did.
And they fucked Rome up.
Yeah, they fucked Rome up. The Visigoths.
Everybody fucked Rome up at one point or another, including the Romans.
The Romans fucked up Rome the biggest. Lousy Romans. They ruined Rome.
That Willy bit is great.
But yeah, actually, as long as I have a format here on the podcast, I'll just say this. There's a translation of the Iliad by Solomon, I think is his last name. That's really fucking fantastic. It's a newer translation, I think from 2007 or 8. I fell in love with it. Like I blew through that book because of the translation of it. So
the only story I have about the Iliad is I was on the bus and my friend was reading the Iliad and he was being bullied by a bully, and the bully was like, "What you got there, nerd? The Iliad?" he literally couldn't read it. It was pretty funny.
Well, you know, that's back. You know, that's the one thing I love about high school nowadays is that there are fewer bullies, and like they bully on way weirder shit. You know? Yeah,
I'll say when they like it seems like I obviously don't know any fucking Zoomers really, but like it seems like they've approached some sort of like meta level where they're like they're bullying someone on social media because he didn't wear his Four Loko shirt or something.
No, it's more about like, you didn't read fucking theory.
Nice, I like it.
Exactly, and it's like I wish people would bully me about that. I read a lot of communist theory when I was in high school.
All I know is that everything that I got bullied for is now cool. So
exactly, which pisses me off kind of. And it's like, you know how in like modern American politics they talk about like, we can't, you can't excuse the people who don't want to have student loan debt. Excuse are the people who are already paid off student loan debt.
Right.
And like that's not me. Like I paid off my student loan debt, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, whatever. You can get rid of it. However, the people who are like, or like Star Wars is cool now, I get mad about that, because when I was in high school, it was not cool to like Star Wars, and I don't.
Yeah, so well, Star Wars has gone through phases, like because like in the 70s, Star Wars was just cool. Like everyone liked Star Wars. Like you were probably weird if you didn't like Star Wars. Then the 80s, probably the 80s as well. I think the 90s, like when we are like our prime high school time, that was kind of like when Star Wars was, I would say, fading. Like not fading. Star Wars went to exclusively nerds. Like nerds took Star Wars.
I would say after 1986, Star Wars. Okay. That's when the Star Wars hype died.
Yeah,
because that's when it fell to just nerds. That there were no new movies coming out. You know, and that's when like the toy line started ending, and it was all done. It was done until like it started getting cool again in the mid 2000s for some odd reason. Like in late 2000s, like I'll say like 2008, 2009, it started to be cool to like Star Wars again.
Yes.
Because even in the 90s, like the late 90s, when the prequels came out, it still wasn't cool to like Star Wars.
I mean, everyone was interested in watching the prequels, though. Like there were people who like didn't care about Star Wars who were just like, I'm gonna fucking watch this prequel, and then they happened.
Yeah, but then they happened.
But of course, we both know that the ultimate Star. We both know the secret of what truly the ultimate Star Wars fandom is.
What's that?
The Lego Star Wars Complete Saga Edition.
Yes.
Lego Star Wars Complete Saga Edition.
Enjoyer.
That's right. I really liked that. That was that I think that's one of the better Star Wars memes I've ever seen.
Well, but it's true though, because every person who likes their Star Wars, and first of all, that's a bad thing, is like Star Wars is very compartmentalized in what you're allowed to like. Right.
Yes, it's completely like they've tribalized liking Star Wars, but they've rather than just being the tribe of we like Star Wars, they're now all sub tribes of we really only like this part of Star Wars.
Yes, exactly. You have that, and then it's like, so you can only like a certain version of Star Wars. You can only like that, but everyone agrees that Lego Star Wars is peak Star Wars. It
is the best Star Wars. It's the only Star Wars.
The only Star Wars.
Exactly. The only Star Wars. And having played a lot of the Lego Star Wars games, I can say it is the only Star Wars.
And I agree.
It's the only Star Wars.
I never played the one that they did, I think, for Rebels, was it? Or I don't remember. I only did the first two. I did the original series and the prequels.
The prequels, yeah.
I don't know if they did one for the sequels.
The pace of the Lego Star Wars prequels games definitely makes the prequels really good.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. Kind of, sort of.
I mean, it makes sense in the world of like the Lego games, because the Lego games always have like they always self-reference the fact that they're Legos still.
Yeah, there was a Twitter stream the other day that was sent to me. It was Lieutenant Columbo in the Star Wars universe. So it's like him going around like saying like, say that there's these were Sam people who shot here, but you can honestly see that the tracks, well, they don't necessarily, go single file, side by side. And the same people, they travel in packs of 3. Well, actually, they travel single file. See, that's what I was thinking.
That's great.
I didn't necessarily say that, So I do. God bless a good Columbo / Star Wars mix up.
Nice. I think Columbo is inarguably the better show, but man, the Matlock theme, what a banger. Yes, I fucking love the Matlock theme.
Matlock.
I mean, the show is. I actually think Matlock's a horrible show, but the theme, fucking so good. Like, goddamn. It's really good.
Dude, everything had a great theme in the 70s and 80s. All theme songs died after Friends came out.
Oh, fuck Friends, dude. The worst.
Yeah, but that theme song was everywhere. You couldn't escape it.
It's still kind of everywhere. Like for a band that never made anything else, like Jesus, that is
the Rembrandts. They made so much money on that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're still making money because Friends is fucking licensed through streaming, and I assume they still get a cut.
Oh man, they make so much money off that show. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I have to imagine.
I mean, it's kind of cursed though, because it's like, a lot of actors are artists, so they want to keep making their art, but they can't because that, they have enough money that they don't have to do anything else, but they still want to make art. Like,
Well, that's not necessarily true. I think that depends on their level of personal passion. Like Chumbawamba has been fucking banging out albums like since Tub Thumping. Like they still do albums, and let me rest assured, I had no idea until I saw a recent internet thread, but Chumbawamba is based.
Oh yeah, they are very based.
Yes, Chumbawamba is based. I had no idea they were, but they are fucking based as shit. So I thought that's pretty. It was like when I discovered what Smash Mouth's band name means. I was just like, that's awesome. What the fuck? Smash Mouth? Are they cool? I had like a fucking like galactic brain crisis about Smash Mouth. I'm like, Smash Mouth? Cool? Am I uncool? Am I cool? Is Smash Mouth? Do I like Smash Mouth?
Smash Mouth is the cooler version of Sugar Ray. I'll just put it out there.
What is it? You see the video of the dude from Sugar Ray losing his mind because someone called the band Sugar Gay?
Dude, no, but he was just on The Masked Singer, so
it is iconic. He's just like, someone's just like, ah, Sugar Gay. And he's like, who the fuck just said Sugar Gay? Who said that? He's like blitzed on coke, just out of his fucking mind. It is very, very funny. Like I was like, that's really good. He got so mad. Like he got like actually mad. It was great.
Well, let's finish talking about one more gaming thing before we go. The Monster Hunter World board game. Kickstarter.
Yeah, it was in 3 hours, it went to $1.5 million.
Yeah, it's currently at 3 mil. But
Jesus, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, and they are at their the end stretch, so 1 week left in it, which means that usually you're gonna get like an extra $1 million out of that, when it gets towards the end there. It just went up as I was watching it. I love it when that happens.
That's so fucking wild. And like, I mean, and this was not they didn't even do one of the longer campaign times.
Yeah.
This is like this launched. I sent you the link when it launched, and it was this week.
Oh really? So it was only like a 1 week Kickstarter.
Yeah,
interesting.
they did that. Well, there's lengths, and this was one of the shortest length options.
So they have
doing a Kickstarter.
So to get like I guess what would be called the base game is $142, and you get the Monster Hunter World, the board game, Ancient Forests, Monster Hunter World, the board game, Wildspire Wastes, Kulu Yaku, Kickstarter exclusive, and all login bonuses.
Kulu Yaku is a specific monster. It's one enemy.
And then for $300, you can get all of that, including the Hunter's Arsenal expansion, Kushala's Deora expansion, Nergigante expansion, Tiastra expansion, and all login bonuses. So I don't know what any of this means.
The full thing, are these pounds? These are pounds, right?
No, those are dollars.
No. On the Kickstarter, I'm looking at the.
Yeah, well, I mean, but I said it's $300, which is $211.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Oh, you want to know if those were pounds or euros?
Right. Pounds or euros. Pounds. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's $300 is the max pledge. All of those weird words. The reason those are weird words is because those are the monster names. That's what it is. So like Nergigante is a giant spiky dragon monster. Most of the Monster Hunter monsters are big giant spiky dragons.
That's they look like they look like monitor lizards with dreadlocks. I think that's one of them.
Or dinosaurs.
Or dinosaurs. Yeah, it's
the Baroth is pretty cool. The Baroth looks like a the Baroth looks like something. I don't know. It's like a T-Rex, but it's got like a flat thing on its head that looks like a hammer. Then there's the one that's like a fish. There's one that's like a fucking dragon chameleon, which is really cool looking. Like it has like a chameleon face, but it's a dragon. There's the Kulu Yaku, the thing that you had difficulty with. That's a big cute bird.
Yeah, here's the thing. It's one of those, like, I'm sure if you are familiar with the Monster Hunter World, which I believe is a video game, correct?
Yes, it's a huge video game, very popular.
Yeah, I'm sure that this here's my thing, Steve. Does this look like it's worth it for $300?
I mean, the figures are really big. I don't know. Like I had a little bit of like a journey with this game myself, because I saw the base game and I liked that the base game only contained 8 models. It has four enemies. They're very big. Like the monsters are fucking huge. So that's where I think a lot of the price is coming from. The monsters are not small. They're very big. And then it has 4 hunters. So like 4 player characters, 4 monsters. That's the base game. And it looks like most of the expansions are like something quasi similar. Like there's one that's like it's 2 monsters and 2 hunters, and another one's like 3 monsters and 4 hunters, and another one it's 4 monsters and 1 hunter. So they're all like they're low. The quantity of figures, like actual like the number of figures is low. So that was appealing to me because I'm like, well, I mean, I don't want to have a game like Dark Souls, which is a mediocre board game at best, but also has like fucking 150 figures. So like what I don't know about that, and I was like, well, maybe I'll get this game because there's a thing. And then I looked, there's so many components in this game. Yeah. Like that's where the money is. Like there's so fucking many components. There's an absolute fuck ton of just like cards, reference sheets, this thing, that thing, like tracks, like where you put your tokens. There's so much shit.
It definitely looks like there's a fuck ton of components in this game.
Yes, there is an absolute fuck ton of components. There's a huge amount of components. So I would say if you want a game that encapsulates a kind of MMORPG style boss fight, as long as they handled the mechanics correctly, which on glance it does look like they did, this would be absolutely perfect for that. So like one of the things I said, I was just slamming the Dark Souls board game. I thought a lot of the things about the Dark Souls board game were shit. Like majority, like my full rating on the Dark Souls board game as a game is a firm thumbs down. The one of the bright sides is the boss fights in the Dark Souls board game were very good. And the actual, like when you got to a boss, that fight in the board game was very good. The way that they did it mechanically was good. Like it made sense. It felt right. It was good. And that looked like a much simplified version of what they have going with this game. So, and of course, in this game, the only thing in the game is boss fights. There's no trash mobs.
So what I would say though is that, and also if you're just buying the box, like the base box, it's $71, which is you're probably saving about $9 from MSRP. Maybe if it might be 100. So you might be saving a little bit more there. I was thinking maybe $80, but yeah. The base pledge, that 71, does not include shipping. So you'd have to pay for shipping on that, which is probably going to be, a bigger chunk.
Mm-hmm. So I would say, as a board game, yes, I believe it is. I believe it looks to be worth the asking price.
To the US, it says that shipping will be 18 to 26 pounds, which is probably about $30.
Yeah,
30 to $40.
So at $30, so it's $100 board game.
Yeah,
which I mean, like that is the standard price of a board game these days.
Especially a big one like that one.
Yes, especially a big one. So like, I think it looks very worthwhile. I like all of the monsters. As I said, the sculpts are really cool, and the monsters are fucking huge. Like they're really, really big. Yeah,
they're pretty big. And let me add to this too. This is something that I've been thinking about as well. So like I'm talking like the $300 one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this is also from Steamforged too. So let's keep that in mind. The Steamforged has been putting out really good games lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I forgot to mention that earlier, but I think what we have as like gamers kind of need to do is like narrow our focus. And what I mean by that is that it's impossible to be a player of multiple games at the same time.
You can't.
Yeah. So like for me, I am a GW simp right now. Like I think everybody knows that. I'm not going to defend them. I will meme them to the death.
You're simping hard for the Emperor.
No, not the Emperor. I'm simping hard for Sigmar.
You're simping hard for Sigmar. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe just the Ogre Kingdoms. The most based of all the Sigmar.
That's right.
Actually, no, I'm simping hard for Undead right now. But that's the thing is like I'm kind of really focusing what I'm doing on mostly Underworlds, because that's probably the game I play the most of, the things that I have most painted stuff for right now. But I also really like Warhammer Fantasy, so I still play that. But that's the thing is like I'm not buying into any new games. Like I'm just kind of focusing on what I have. The new stuff for Underworlds, I'm going to buy. Curse City, since it's limited and will only be around for 2 to 3 years, I will probably buy the expansions for that and just have the whole set for it when it's done. Mm-hmm. But that's different, you know. But that's it. That's what all of my focus is going to be on. When someone says like, "Oh, do you want to play? And are you going to get Monster Hunter World?" Like, let's say I was into Monster Hunter World, I'd probably say no, because like all of my focus is going to these other games. Right.
Well, I mean, I talked about this with Angel too, where it's just like there's so many games. Like one of the like I don't know blessings, quote unquote, is that the amount of good to great board games you can throw your fucking like you throw a dartboard at a fucking board game wall and you'll probably find a really good game.
Absolutely.
Like there's so many good games. So because there's so many good games and there's so many games and board games are really complex. Basically, if you're a board gamer, like if you want to be a board gamer, all you really need, and I want to emphasize the fucking word need, is a best in slot for style plus aesthetic. So yeah. Example, like say you really want like the experience of like a boss fight board game, which is that's pretty unique, actually. Like, I can't think of another game that's like this. That is a boss fight board game. So this might not be the best game to kind of like throw this topic on, but we'll just say a dungeon crawler. Say a dungeon crawler. Like, there's pretty definitively like there's many dungeon crawlers in the market. I don't know which is the current like top best one, but I'll just fucking say Hero Quest. If Hero Quest is the best dungeon crawler. Let's say I'm not going to throw my personal opinion because like I said, I don't know a lot of the dungeon crawl games, but I'm just going to say like the universal consensus, Hero Quest is the best dungeon crawler. That's the game you should own for your dungeon crawler slot. You should not have Hero Quest and Descent and Bloodborne and Dark Souls and Talisman and this and that. Like you don't need 20 different dungeon crawl board games if you have a best one.
Yep, and I think that and that's kind of and like that's exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about more of like this is going to be the thing that I'm going to collect all of the expansions for.
Well, I mean, there's I think there's a big difference there too, because like there's absolutely more of a finite thing to that for other games that aren't like Workshop's, perpetual. Like they're unless they literally go out of business. Yeah, infinite power. Unless they go out of business, they will keep making new Age of Sigmar armies and Age of Sigmar games until the end of time. So in that regard, yes, that makes sense. I would say that if you're into like miniatures, like if you're into miniatures, I get what you're saying. Like go whole hog. So like if you're really into 40K and you just like 40K, it makes more sense to optimize your time and your hobby to just get 40K. Because like what I've seen, and this is, I mean, I'm fucking guilty of this as well, is like I see the 40K guy who's like, fuck yeah, dude, 40K. And like they have an absolute fuck ton of shit with 40K, and all they do is play 40K. Like that's really all they do with their gaming time. That dude still buys a shit ton of board games that he never plays.
Exactly. Yeah. There's that issue to it, which is
so on that, I 100% agree with you. So I would say, but I think that might be the big the crux of this is that I don't think you can be a blank gamer in more than one way. Like I think you can be a board gamer, you can be a war gamer, you can be a card gamer, but like balancing and managing multiple ones, it's not that you like can't or won't do it, but like it's like a cost benefit. Like if I play Magic if I play Magic 4 times a week, and that's what I do, and I play I don't know, the Dune board game once a year, there's clearly one thing I should be focusing on.
Well, I like that too. And it's like, why do you have both 40K and board games? You're terrible at resource management games. Why would you think you could do it in real life, let alone a board game?
Yes, that's perfect. Yeah. So like, yeah, and I completely agree with that, and I think it's just like people just kind of. But I think there's that feeds into what we were talking about before with both the FOMO,
yeah,
and it's a combo of FOMO and the internet points, because most board gamers, quote unquote, they just post pictures of their fucking IKEA shelves in the background that are covered with board games.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of fake internet points to be won there.
Right, and like that's what they collect karma. They collect board games to facilitate their karma collection.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
that's a big one for me. So like, I think it's like yeah, how many games? Excuse me. It's like, how many of those games have you played? Like, you know, which ones are good, which ones are bad? And that's it too. Like board games, like I mean, I like board games. I've played a lot of them, but like board games are hard. Like they require a lot of effort to like. They require a lot of mental effort to like learn how to play, to teach, to do right. Like they're not a fucking pick up and go thing. Like they're very difficult. Not. So like going into like this Monster Hunter game looks fucking complicated as all fucking hell. This looks like one of the most complicated games I've ever fucking seen. I'm sure when you're running it and you know how the game works, it doesn't play complicated, because that's how most of these games work. It's like Kingdom Death Monster. Kingdom Death Monster is a fucking amazing game, but holy fuck is that game complicated as shit. But if you're playing with people who know how to run the game, it doesn't feel complicated. It's just like kind of like if you do like a really hard like raw version of D&D where you follow all the fucking rules, because D&D is just a board game. If you follow all the rules, D&D is a board game, and it's very complex. It's a very complex board game. It's arguably the most complex board game there is. But it's just like, but when you're playing it with people who are well versed, like it shouldn't feel like it's complicated. That's the difference. But like a board game like this, like there's no way to get away from the complexity of like however they did the behavior deck for this big badass looking chimera dude, like 120 millimeter base giant ass chimera, and he's got like a big deck of like how he acts, and like there's like a hunt phase too, so like you have to find the monster, so on and so forth. There's a bunch of shit going on with this game. This game is going to require effort to learn, effort to teach, effort to play. If it's good, that's fantastic. But what you were talking about, where people are spreading their attentions, is like if you're going to put in all of the time to learn a game, play that game. Like that's what I always made the joke. It's just like you buy, like people who buy the super complex games, they spend like they come up with a cool weekend session for them and their friends. They all spend like 3 hours kind of cobbling together how to maybe play the game, try to play the game for 2 hours, maybe succeed, and then the game goes back on the shelf and never comes out again. like that's that. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong. I've seen that happen multiple times. I've seen it.
Yeah. No, you're right. I did want to. We're running out of time though, and I wanted to mention one thing for our listeners. So I know you don't watch any of the Disney Marvel shows, right? I
do not.
You have not. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier has been on for the last few weeks. Really boring show, mind you. I did not find it interesting at all. However, there is a weird so with Marvel, they're always trying to they always ape a genre with whatever they're doing. Yes. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is it's supposed to be buddy cop, right?
Okay. Yes.
But it's like they were told like this needs to be a buddy cop show, and then the directors were like, okay, well, we'll kind of make it buddy cop. So there's literally, it's like this show that has all these subplots, and then every once in a while it'll have this like really bizarre lethal weapon scene in it that's completely out of place, and I thought you'd appreciate that because it'll even have the jazz saxophone in the background.
That's awesome.
Well, it's like they're doing this whole thing where they're like, we have to take out these people and blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden they'll be like working on a boat with their shirts off while jazz saxophone is playing in the background. You're like, I mean, what the fuck is going on?
I mean, that's pretty awesome.
No, it's not. Because if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna have the black guy with the family and the white guy who's mentally who has mental
unstable
baggage, like yes, do that. lean into that. Don't just make it like a weird thing that we deal with once an episode that's really out of place. Right?
Well, I'm not saying that the out of placeness is the awesome part. I'm saying that they have the weird jazzy sax scene where there's like they're doing the buddy cop reconciliation moments is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing too. And it's like it's even like they'll have like these things where like the Winter Soldier Bucky is kind of like looking at Falcon's sister, and I'm like, this is Lethal Weapon, except it's his sister, not his daughter. You know, like I'm like, this is so bizarre how that's happening, and I wanted to mention that because the show is now done. Thank God I don't need to watch it that much anymore.
The only thing I saw from that show is I saw the gifs of the Gandalf conversation.
Yeah, the guy.
Yeah,
I know The Hobbit. I read it when it came out in 1938.
Yes. He's like, how do you know Gandalf? Yeah, that was good.
Well, that's the thing where they talk about like a wizard is a sorcerer with a hat. That did make me laugh on that. But the show is really, really predictably boring, and it's I've come around to I think the reason that all of these shows are not good. And I think many of them are not, like they're just not, especially the Marvel ones. The Marvel ones suffer from this the most, is like, because I believe their only intent is to maintain a like lukewarm temperature for the IP. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like so because that is their only intent, they only exist to facilitate like eyes on. Like they're like, hey, don't forget, if you don't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, you might not understand the next Infinity War movie like that. So because that is their intention, they're only meant to keep people's eyes on the IP. They're just extended long things that they're just going to put just enough effort into to get people to like keep watching them, and that's why I don't think any of them ever have like really stellar like stories or anything like that. And then maybe sometimes there's a few that like have really like even the ones I liked, like Daredevil as a whole, I don't think is a very good show, like as a complete item.
No,
but I
season
do
2 was awful.
But Daredevil does have excellent moments and performances. Like some of the act, like obviously fucking Vincent D'Onofrio is incredible. Like he's so good as Kingpin. Like his fucking like he owned that character and kind of ruined the character, because now like every time I think of Kingpin, like that's what I think of. Like like that's like it's only Vincent D'Onofrio. Like that's Kingpin now, minus the fucking tiny head, gigantic body one from Into the Spider-Verse, which cracks me up. But like that's so I think that's a thing. So there's definitely like bits, but and that's what I think they're just not going to put in the level of like craftsmanship that if they really cared about like doing like like, oh yeah, we gotta make this the dopest story about fucking
that's the difference, in that they put a lot of craft into it. Everything about the show is expertly crafted with the exception of the plot.
Right, that's what I'm talking about, like the part that's like gonna be the most important.
The thing,
but
is
like, they can't advance the plot. They can't. No, they can't.
No, the problem is you can't take risks. It's not about
right.
It's about risk taking, because Marvel TV shows and Marvel movies will never ever take a risk that the audience will not understand. They have to play to the dumbest audience member who's going like, I don't understand what's going on. That's why I really liked WandaVision, because WandaVision, for the first, I don't know, I think it was 8 episodes. I mean, like for the first 6 episodes was amazing. It was so fresh and different and funny and weird, and it was interesting. And then I was like, I can't wait to see how this ends. The entire show is about living inside of a sitcom, and they're playing into all these sitcom tropes and everything like that. I'm like, how are they going to get out of this in a sitcom-y way? And they don't. They get out of it in a Marvel way, where everyone's waving their hands around while computer-generated graphics are flying around.
There's beams.
Yeah,
they get out of it with beams.
Just people moving their hands in front of a green screen, which I got really pissed about. And that finale of WandaVision was the biggest hot trash I've seen in a long time. And because that show I thought was brilliant up until the end. I was like, oh, it's this. Okay, it's the same thing that you always see. And it's like people will.
Is it as bad as Wonder Woman 2?
No, not as bad as Wonder Woman 2. Well, yeah, I'm not going to get into it. I don't have time to get into that. but there was a but there's the WandaVision, it's there, you go online, right, and you see how people discuss a TV show, right, especially Marvel shows, because a lot of those people discussing the Marvel shows online are people who are fans of Marvel, so they always say, well, I bet you they're going to do this and they're going to do this.
Yes, that is absolutely what I,
because those people are not like the Marvel universe, and Marvel writers will never put that into a TV show because it's too complicated for the average viewer to watch.
I was actually just about to say, one of the things that I think that like one of the draws to the Marvel like thing, and one of the things I've seen is that people actually don't care about what they're watching while they're watching it. They care about what the thing they're watching is going to affect the next thing. Does that make any sense?
They do not care about that. They do not care about that at all.
Because they only care about, they're like, oh, I bet this is going to happen in Infinity War now. Like, that's
maybe people, because
that's what I hear.
Fans or superhero fans, but I'm talking the average viewer, because you got to remember, those Marvel comic fans are a very, very small subset of people who are watching a $2 billion franchise. I'm talking about like the comic nerd, and you're talking about like the soccer mom. Yeah, well, not even a soccer mom. Like, these are 50-year-old dads who, like, they maybe see one movie a year, right? Maybe 2 movies a year in the theater, and they're not going to waste their dollar on a movie that's not going to be exactly as predictable as they want to have their movie dollar be reflected.
It's not general infantry, Joe.
No, they want them to be their dollar to be spent maximum on their amount of enjoyment on it. And if that enjoyment is them sitting in the theater, leaving, going, okay, that was a pretty good action movie, that's exactly what they want. They don't want to be. They don't want to be challenged. They don't want to think. They don't want to have any of that.
I say that. I say that's probably accurate, but also I would say that would be kind of weird to get from a comic book movie.
Yeah, but but that's the thing, is like they're so predictable. These movies have been around for 22 years at this point. 12 years at this point.
Someone pointed out, I can't remember the exact quote, but it really cracked me up. But it's like I don't know, man. People take those Marvel movies like fucking seriously, but it's like I look at it in the scene and it's just like, that guy's in a fucking costume. Like, like you can't take that fucking seriously. Or he's like when there's like a character death and like it's a really sad, like it's a really sad scene or supposed to be sad. It's like, that guy's in fucking bright yellow.
Yeah, he's in spandex.
Yeah, he's in spandex. This is not sad.
And that's the thing, though, is like, and that's the average viewer, is that person who's like, okay, these movies have been around for 12 years at this point. They probably watched the first couple on on DVD or streaming, and so like, I get it. So like, okay, I'll go watch this Ant-Man movie. It's done by the same people. It's probably decent, and it's completely non-offensive. There's nothing in the plot that's gonna change any. It's just an enjoyable 2 hours of your life.
Would you call it a required romp?
Yeah, it's a romp, and people aren't.
It's a romp.
There's nothing to worry about with it, and that's what I think. That's what the average viewer wants. So Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it's exactly what people want, and they add in like all of these things that it's like, okay, we're gonna hit this beat point. We're gonna hit this beat point. There is one subplot in that entire show which I think had like the potential to be amazing, and what they did with it was pretty good. It never got amazing. But aside from that, and Baron Zemo dancing is another great meme. But that's just like, there's like someone who's working in the marketing for Disney saying like, we got to meme something in this show. If we don't,
something's got to be a meme.
Got to be a meme. We got to have the public talking about this meme. So they put in the like Zemo dancing meme.
Baby Yoda.
Yeah, like Baby Yoda. So
they need the Baby Yoda.
They need the Baby Yoda. So they put in Baron Zemo dancing, which Daniel Bruhl is an amazing actor, kind of wasted in the show. Is dancing, and you're like, okay, this is the meme. This will capture the audience's the internet's attention for 2 days.
This will be the shit post.
Yeah, this will be the shit post until the next memeable thing comes along 2 days later, and it's like, it's so cut and dry and by the books that it's just kind of like, okay, this is fine. It was something good to watch on a Friday night that just kept my interest for. I
think that's probably due to the fact that all these franchises are so much fucking money. Like,
there's so much money, and they have to be
like think of every art house movie you've ever seen or thought about, like that was good. Like even ones that are like iconic now, like or that have spawned in their own franchise now, like Alien is a good example. Like the first Alien was not a big budget movie.
No.
It was an excellent movie. It was very well crafted, but it was not a big budget movie. The problem is movie budgets are so absurd now. Like just in general, to do a movie like Alien now would require a phenomenal budget.
No, actually,
and
it wouldn't though. But that's the thing. It wouldn't. But here's the thing.
To do it now, what I mean, that's what I mean. I don't mean the actual like nuts and bolts of doing it. You can make the movie Alien for the same amount of money that they spent in the 70s now. Like you absolutely could do that. But I'm talking about going through the process of Hollywood and trying to make that movie would require a fucking fortune, because the first Alien was a Hollywood picture. It was a full, it was full 20th Century Fox. It was a full release. It was not an indie film. I'm not talking about indie films.
It's true.
Anyone can make an indie film.
But that's the thing is like, even like a $25 million movie, which is not an expensive movie nowadays to make, a $25 million movie, like if that movie fails at the box office, the person who greenlit it through the studio is getting fired.
Yeah, he's going to get fired.
Yeah. So no one wants to do that. So they don't risk everything. They basically put everything onto they put it through a formula, and they say like, okay, this movie can't fail. They basically game it like you game a Age of Sigmar army list. Saying,
yeah, like
cannot possibly fail.
Yeah, well, possibly is not there, but it's just like we go with the odds here.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's like, and if it fails, you can point to something that's like you say right off the bat, like if this army will fail because of X, Y, and Z. Like if I get put up against this opponent who's running this specific deck or this specific army.
Yeah, you know the risks when you risk assessment.
Yeah, you risk assess it. And there's so much of that in movies nowadays that you can't take those risks and have interesting movies.
Which is why I like the horror genre, because you know what the horror genre is full of? You know, because you watch horror movies, a fuck ton of interesting movies.
Oh, what was on Joe Bob this week? Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I've only been watching Japanese stuff, so I've just been stockpiling all my Joe Bob stuff.
Yeah, watching Japanese stuff. All right, so I think that's about it. You're gonna have to get going in a minute.
I am, yes.
Yeah. God damn it! Why the fuck is going on here? Okay.
All right, good. For a second, I thought you weren't recording.
No, I'm recording. No, I was trying to see what was on Joe Bob, and it was like, for some odd reason, the fucking computer is now where it's only got the first week on there. I usually
I like to be when I was doing Joe Bob, I never like to look ahead. I always like to be surprised.
Well, I mean it was yesterday, so right?
Yeah, Friday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I wasn't quite sure what is what's going on, but I'll look in a minute anyway. So go to Game Classy Podcast Facebook page. It's the best way you can get in contact with us. You could also like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTubes and the Twitters. No, not the Twitters, the YouTubes and the iTunes. The best way you can help out the podcast. If you want to get a hold of me outside of the Facebook, you can contact me on Instagram. I'm Game Classy Joe. Steve is not on anything currently because he has abused his power to tell Sleepy Joe Biden that he wants to have.
Look, I DM'd him and I said, I have secret information that is important for you. You need to click on this, Mr. President, please. And he was like, for FR, no cap? And I was like, yeah, FR, no cap. And he clicked on it, and it was just a picture of my anus. He blocked me, and he had my Twitter account deleted. So unfortunate for me, but I've been blacklisted from Twitter for sending Sleepy Joe Biden a picture of my anus.
Yes, and it's also, you did also send, I have information that will lead to the arrest of Hillary Clinton.
Well, that was Trump though. And then Trump got a picture of my anus.
And then Trump got a picture of my anus. The problem is like I'm trying to like figure out what the movies were on Joe Bob, and he never actually like on his Twitter says what his
I think Darcy does. If you follow Darcy, she usually says what the movies are.
Yeah, Class of 1984. Was that one of them? Class of Nukem High.
Oh, Nukem High. Nukem High. That's a great trauma film.
Yes. Okay. So it is. Well, it says Class of 1984, which is, I don't believe, Class of Nukem High. I think that's a separate movie.
Yes, it is. Class 1984 is also a separate movie.
Yeah. Okay.
But in new horror is still taking risks and doing interesting things. It's the only genre that is.
Because Class of 1984 was the one with where it's like the teacher. It's kind of like the substitute, right?
I only remember the VHS cover, which was a darkened classroom, and there was like a dude. There was like the lower profile of a guy with a knife. That was the only thing I remember. And Class of 1984 is written in like the most 80s like scrawl font.
And it looks like the other one might be Mutant Farm, which I don't know what that is.
I've never heard of Mutant Farm.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a few movies that they
isn't Mutant Farm what they call their fans?
Oh, Mutant Fam, I think.
Oh, Fam.
I'm not sure.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Fam.
Yeah. Also, because I mean, I can never discredit what the movies are, because like fucking Hogzilla didn't exist, and then like they debuted Hogzilla on Joe Bob. Like that movie was never released, and then it was released on Joe Bob. So there's things like that.
Yeah. So like that'll be good. I haven't actually watched Class of 1984 for a long time, and it's good to watch it on Shudder, where it's not censored like it would be on USA Up All Night, where I'd watch it originally.
Fantastic.
So I mean, that's a good one to watch. I'll be excited when that one drops. And the I don't know what the other one is. They really don't say it too much on there. But anyway, so Steve, until next time.
Carthage must be destroyed.
It's Carthago delenda est. Laters.
Bye.
Game classy.